So it all comes down to this one moment. If we win the coin flip, we probably win the game. If we lose the coin flip, we take 1 damage and we die. Alright, here goes nothing. Hello and welcome to another timeless video. Today I'm gonna attempt to play some solitaire with this blue, black and red or grixis colored storm deck, which is all about casting a lot of spells in one big exciting turn, making a bunch of mana, drawing a bunch of cards, and finally topping it off with an actual storm spell, which gets copied for every other spell that was cast before it this turn, and in the case of Tendrils of Agony, making the opponent lose 2 life and we gain 2 life for every single storm copy. So usually the goal is to get to a storm count of 10, cast the tendrils, and then drain the opponent out to win on the spot. And this deck is capable of doing so as early as turn 2 with an ideal draw. Turn 3 is a bit more realistic. So the deck needs a few mana generation effects to get enough mana to be able to cast all our spells. Of course, we know about Dark Ritual, 1 black mana to make triple black, can give us some pretty explosive starts in other strategies as well. And we're also making use of Seething Song, which is 3 mana to make 5 red, so it still nets us 2 mana overall, similar to Dark Ritual, but it is a bit pricier to start out, although the advantage over Dark Ritual is that it has a generic mana cost as well, so we can potentially discount it with effects like Aral, Monsoon Sage, which can give all our instant and sorcery spells a 1 mana discount, which is very useful if we're trying to cast a lot of spells in the same turn. So now with Aral or Seething Song nets us 3 mana as opposed to just 2, and it also enables a card like Manamorphose to be a lot more exciting. So this is a recent addition through the special guests from Lorwyn, 1 and the hybrid red or green, to make 2 mana in any combination of colors and to draw a card. So at first glance this doesn't really do anything super useful, maybe fixing your colors, but with Aral in play it now actually nets us a mana, and fixing our colors is still very useful if we have an effect like Seething Song making 5 red, then now we can still use Manamorphose to filter that red mana into blue and or black, for instance, which can help cast more spells afterwards. And then another card that's very nice with Aral in play is Frantic Surge, 3 mana instant to draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards and untap up to 3 lands. So this card disadvantage, since we're using a card and we're not really up on any extra cards in the process, but with Aral in play, this not only increases our storm count, but also nets us a mana, since we now only spent 2 mana to untap 3 lands, and we get to dig a little bit deeper into the deck to try and assemble our various combos. So those are the main ways we have of generating mana, and then eventually the goal is often to cast a Past in Flames, a 4 mana sorcery, giving each instant and sorcery card in our graveyard flashback until end of turn with a flashback cost equal to its mana cost. So now we can essentially rebuy all those ritual effects that we've already casted during the turn, further increasing our storm count, and then hopefully we have enough card draw effects to eventually draw into the tendrils, or we can use our various tutor effects. One of those is Dark Petition, which is 5 mana to search our library for any card and put it in hand, but if we have Spell Mastery enabled, aka there are 2 or more instant and sorceries in our graveyard, then now we also get to add triple black mana to our mana pool, essentially turning this into a 2 mana effect. So Dark Petition is excellent for finding our tendrils, since we'll have the black mana to cast it typically, and we also have of course Demonic Tutor, which is restricted in Timeless, so we only get to run 1 copy to begin with, but this is another excellent way to find whatever we need, whether it's an extra ritual effect or maybe want to get our Past in Flames if we have everything set up already. And then to round out the deck, we have a few more blue cantrips to help find our missing combo pieces. Brainstorm and Ponder are classics, especially great with our various shuffle effects, thanks to our many fetch lands, which can shuffle away any unwanted cards on the top of the deck. And then we're also running the full set of Thought Scour, another relatively recent addition to Arena, letting us mill 2 cards and then draw a card. So this can also maybe get rid of cards we put back on top with Ponder or Brainstorm, but it can also further fill the graveyard to set up a powerful Past in Flames at some point. And then to give us a bit of interaction and to make sure we don't lose to opposing combo decks that can win as early as turn 1, we also have the full set of Thoughtseize, now with the original art as well, to have a look at the opponent's hand and take a non-land card away at the cost of 2 life. Can also maybe later get it back with a Past in Flames just to make sure that our opponent doesn't have anything preventing us from comboing off all the way. So yeah, that's basically our deck in a nutshell. Ral is also going to be flipping some coins while casting our instant and sorcery spells. Usually we want to just keep the creature in play, and then once we've cast enough spells where we can set up the -8 once Ral transforms into the Planeswalker, then now that -8 can also dig pretty deep to help us cast a whole bunch of spells for free, which can be an alternative way of finding our tendrils if we maybe couldn't draw into it or tutor it up. And then the mana base has 1 island and 1 swamp that we can maybe fetch with our blue and black fetch lanes. And we're not playing a mountain, since the main reason you would want to fetch a basic swamp or island is to play around a Blood Moon effect, either a Blood Moon or Magus of the Moon. So then we're not worried about having a mountain, since all our non-basics will be mountains anyway. We do have a selection of shock lands here with Watery Grave, 2 Steam Vents and a Blood Crypt, as well as an Undercity Sewers, which we can occasionally search up if we don't need untapped mana but might want to surveil one, which is another way of maybe helping find whatever we need. And then 10 remaining fetch lands, prioritizing the blue ones, since getting an island to be able to cast our blue cantrips is more important, and that's also where Manamorphose can be very helpful. If we're underneath a Blood Moon effect, we can still cast it, make blue and black, and hopefully still be able to combo off from there. I did briefly consider mixing up my win conditions and not going for 2 copies of Tendrils, but splitting up Tendrils and Grapeshot, for instance, which can also maybe burn the opponent out, but it only deals 1 damage for each Storm copy, so it does take a lot more effort to win a game with Grapeshot, the advantage being that we can occasionally take out some creatures or planeswalkers with it to maybe disrupt the opponent, but I found Tendrils to be more effective at closing out games, requiring a much lower Storm count to actually win us the game instead. But there are certainly situations where Grapeshot might be preferable. If our opponent has a Veil of Summer, for instance, they can gain Hexproof from black, and then Tendrils of Agony won't be able to target the opponent to begin with. So then, of course, Grapeshot is going to be the better option. But for now, for best of 1, I'm not expecting too many Veil of Summers, so this is what I'm going with. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the draw. This hand has potential if we can find a red land here to play Ral, and then we've got all the rituals we'll need. It's a little speculative, but I'll try it. With Brainstorm we can dig pretty deep. Opponent on maybe Eldrazi ramp, so hopefully they don't have an early Chalice. Frantic Surge doesn't quite do it here. Okay, found red mana, so we can try Ral. Could go Ritual into Ral, but then I wouldn't be able to do much else afterwards. Ritual into Seething Song. I guess lets me play Ral and maybe keep going. Yeah, maybe that's still worth it. Play Ral, keep black. Again, Seething Song for 2 mana.
I'll get out of this miserable district.
Not in a hurry to transform Ral. Although I might with Manamorphose. Alright, fine, we'll transform since we have another Ral in hand. Make blue-blue. Brainstorm. Okay, put back 2 lanes. And then go a Ritual. Play Ral. Plus Ral.
Just a Rain Mage, nothing to see here.
2 mana Past in Flames. Wait to transform. Okay, maybe ultimate the second Ral. Cast a bunch more rituals. And then we're just looking to draw a finisher. Manamorphose, make blue-blue. Okay, and then I can still Brainstorm. Transform. This one has 15 loyalty.
It's given me so many new ideas.
And then good -8.
Now that's what I call
And then we can tutor 4 tendrils, which should be more than enough. Could have maybe played around a Veil of Summer by getting a Thoughtseize first, but at this point we've committed. And our opponent explodes, so yeah, turn 2 kill. Not too shabby. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. Our hand's got potential. A ritual with a tutor, couple card draw effects. But we'll still need to sculpt our draw. Seething Song is another ritual. So for now, I think I wait to ponder. Can maybe ponder, keep on top, and then Thought Scour afterwards. And for now, just get a Surveil land end of turn. Depends if we're in a hurry or not. If our opponent's like an energy deck, we can take our time. Thundering Falls. This opponent might have some interaction. And Jeskai. And a Riddler, so some sort of flicker deck. Okay. They might have a Force of Negation as well. They cannot force in their own turn. If I wanted to just Thought Scour here. But I think we've got time to set up. They might have a Solitude in hand as a free removal spell. Brainstorm's not bad. Riddler in exile. So now I could go Brainstorm and then Thought Scour afterwards. Although we can do that at instant speed. So that way we don't play into the Force of Negation. Fable's fine. So response I can Brainstorm. And then a couple of lands can go. Finding a Thoughtseize would be nice, just to have a way to check for a free counterspell. But yeah, with a fetch land, we also got rid of those lands to begin with, drew Tendrils. So yeah, I like where this is headed. So Ritual, Seething Song. And then if they counter the tutor, I still have the Tendrils, although it would not be quite lethal. I think that's still a fine starting point. Could also Seething Song first. That resolves. Could tutor get a Thoughtseize, but Past in Flames is a card we really care about. So I can go for Past in Flames. Dark Petition is definitely going to get countered. So yeah, I think I gotta try Past in Flames. Although that one is pretty likely to get forced, and then I also cannot flash it back. So that would pretty much end my turn. But if it does resolve, we should just win. So I can get an island. And maybe cast another Thought Scour before we Past in Flames. Fill the graveyard some more. Thoughtseize would have been nice. Alright, that resolves. So now we should have it. Ritual, ritual, ritual. We already have tendrils in hand. No need for a cost reducer. Could also check out their hand with a Thoughtseize, just to make sure. So they did have a Solitude, which is what was holding priority this entire time. Alright, and then Tendrils is already lethal. So yeah, opponent did not have any interaction for our hand. No way to disrupt our mana development, really. Unless we maybe drew Ral, then they could have exiled it. And no counter spells, so... yeah, then the Storm deck can potentially just win on turn 2 or 3. Sweet. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We have a promising hand. Turn 1 could Thoughtseize, and then Ral plays well with Manamorphose, looking for more ritual effects. So, for now, Watery Grave Thoughtseize. Try to slow my opponent down. They might have a Force of Negation. I see opponent was hanging on to Surgical Extraction, so they're on a Reanimator deck with their own Thoughtseize. Well, Surgical could be annoying, but it's not unbeatable, and Thoughtseize taking Ral is probably more of a nuisance right now. So I think I still take the Thoughtseize. They might even get rid of the Surgical with the Faithless Looting here. Or they might go Entomb with a plan of casting Death. Still requires a second land. So going for the looting instead. Opponent got rid of a Thoughtseize, keeps Surgical. And they're gonna Surgical after my draw step to get rid of Thoughtseize. Yeah, that's fine. If I had one in hand, I could have brainstormed in response to maybe get rid of it. So no more Thoughtseizes. We'll resolve Ral.
Luck will break my way, eventually.
And yeah, hopefully next turn we can start storming off. And we get to untap, draw Frantic Search. So the opponent's plan is maybe Entomb end of turn. So what's my sequence? Can start with Manamorphose, making blue-red. Draw land, that's useful. So now I get to Seething Song. Make some mana. Brainstorm. Can shuffle with a Delta. Okay. I guess we prefer Ponders over Thought Scours. Frantic Search, untap my lands again. Another Manamorphose is excellent. Can go black. How many spells have we cast this turn? I think I'll still wait. Draw Thought Scour. Can maybe Ponder and then get rid of the top cards with Thought Scour. Well, those are all pretty good, although they're not a finisher, which is really what I need at the moment. Although more mana than transforming Ral might be good enough. So, sure. Although I do need to win a coin flip now. Could have also milled the opponent to draw the Seething Song. But I didn't get punished. Alright, now I need to win the flip, which I did. So I still need to get a little bit lucky here. But now we can ultimate. And now we should have it. Again, Dark Petition. I guess we're out of Thoughtseize, but I can get a backup Tendrils. And yeah, cast one. Still have another one left. GG's. And there we have it. So yeah, pretty tense game in the end. Needed to win a couple coin flips. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We have a hand that needs to draw a couple of lanes, but I don't hate it. Can fill the graveyard a bunch with Thought Scour, setting up Past in Flames. Seething Song a way to cast it. So then we just need a couple more lanes and maybe one or two more ritual effects. And then Tutor can find a finisher. Sewers from our opponents. Could get a Sewers myself. I see opponent on kind of the Sorin Vampire Reanimator deck. Alright, they're not done yet, Chromox. They could also have Grief. Plus, of course, Reanimates to bring it back. Opponent keeping up blue mana. Yeah, we could Thought Scour now, or we can Surveil and take it from there. I'll Surveil for now, try and find a lane. Dark Ritual has to be worth it as well. Although putting it in the graveyard still somewhat useful. I think we gotta keep it. Although now I probably need to main phase Thought Scour, hoping to hit a lane drop. Alright, that worked out. And then next turn, we could already try to make something happen. Mystical Tutor probably getting something like a Reanimate or maybe a Counterspell. Yep, Reanimate. They could go for my Ral, although they might have Entomb to get something a little bit more powerful. Opponent's got their own Ritual. Demonic Tutor. Okay, but they left blue mana available, so if their plan is Tutor for Entomb plus Reanimate, they may be tapped incorrectly. There's the Entomb. And now what? Put Atraxa in the graveyard. And a Brainstorm. Okay, so they still need to hit a land. And yeah, looks like our opponent did not quite piece it together. So this might be my window to try and combo myself before the opponent reanimates Atraxa and finds more interaction. My hand is quite promising. So I can go Ritual, Seething Song, Manamorphose, maybe even Tutor in another Dark Ritual. Let's see if they're holding priority, doesn't seem like it. So we can Seething Song, Manamorphose. Let's go black, blue. And then tutor for another Dark Ritual. Haven't played land yet. Could ponder first, but I don't think it's necessary. Just cast a Past in Flames. Ritual again, and then we can Demonic Tutor for Tendrils. And yeah, opponent knows what's incoming and scoops it up. Awesome. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. This hand is heavy on Disruption with double Thoughtseize. Could be okay in certain matchups, although it might take us a while to actually assemble a Storm kill. But I'm willing to give it a try. This is a type of hand where we might just eventually draw Past in Flames, and then with one Ritual effect, we get to see a lot of extra cards by getting back Manamorphose again. And hopefully double Thoughtseize will slow down our opponent in the meantime. Alright, this could be a turn 1 kill. Dark Ritual, Sorin, okay. So they can maybe cheat out a Vampire already. Yeah, and it's a Balustrade Spy. Milling themselves. And then looks like our opponent's on a build with Nexus of Fates as well as Progenitus, which gets shuffled back. And then in the meantime, Creeping Chill deals 12 to us. And they get to return both Silversmote Ghoul and Prize Amalgam. So we're not dead right this second, but next turn we will be. Opponent still has a couple draw steps to prevent decking. So yeah, this is not the type of hand where a Thoughtseize was going to be very effective unless we were on the play. Then this could have completely wrecked the opponent's hand by taking away something like a Sorin or a Balustrade Spy, leaving the opponent with not a whole lot. So yeah, just luck of the draw. Sometimes in Timeless you just have to accept these losses, where there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Unless you were maybe playing Force of Negation in the main deck, of course. But yeah, GG's. I guess we can check out their last cards out of curiosity. And get a Blood Crypt. See what you're working with. They had another Vampire and a Trawler. Can also exile graveyards, which is not irrelevant when you're playing the Storm deck with Past in Flames. So had we been on the play, Thoughtseize probably had to take Sorin first, or maybe the Dark Ritual, since they had multiple Vampires that they could cheat out. And they were both pretty good here. Alright, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We have our two basic lands somehow. Double Ponder, need to find the red mana. Once we do, this hand's not bad, with Thrall pairing well with Manamorphose and Frantic Surge. So I'll give it a try. So Ponder looking for a fetch land. Drawing the basics can be useful if you're up against a Blood Moon deck. So you don't have to worry about it shutting down your non-basic lands. Yeah, this is going to be a shuffle. And draw Brainstorm, which is more likely to find a fetch land as well. Okay, opponents maybe on a Charbelcher deck, if they're playing the dual-faced lanes. Although we did draw the Blood Crypt, so now I can just play Ral. And then next turn we can already maybe make something happen.
One day, I'll get out of this miserable district.
Opponent does keep up 2 mana, so they could have a mana drain in hand for all we know. Think I still try Manamorphose for starters. See if that resolves. It does not. Opponent had the mana drain. Okay, so now I can still Frantic Surge and then still play Manamorphose afterwards. Okay, Thoughtseize could be helpful. So now the question is, do I focus on comboing myself, or do I focus on interrupting whatever the opponent's trying to do? Because it's still realistic for me to fully combo off this turn. If I go Manamorphose into Seething Song with a few cantrips. So I think I just ignore whatever my opponent has and try to go for it right now. So Manamorphose, make, I want to say, blue-red. Find a Dark Ritual, okay. So now all I really need is a Past in Flames. So could start with a Ponder. Not in a hurry to transform Ral. Find another Frantic Search. Or we can grab Brainstorm. Frantic Search is extra mana, but it is card disadvantage in a way. So I might prefer Brainstorm. If I keep Brainstorm, of course, we know most of the cards we're drawing into. So this might be a shuffle. And draw Demonic Tutor. Alright, I think we've got it now. Still not in a hurry to transform. Seething Song. And then Tutor Past in Flames should do it. What's my storm count at currently? Is there a way to track? Not in a hurry to transform Ral, but I'm sure we would have been fine doing it. And now I could still Thoughtseize my opponent if I really wanted to. Alright, fine. Just to see what deck they're playing. It was indeed Charbelcher, so next turn they could have cast it. They had double Flare of Denial, but no creatures in play. So, Manamorphose again. And then, yeah, my storm count should be high enough that we can just tutor for Tendrils. Alright, fine, I'll transform Ral.
I need volunteers to get slightly.
Can also Dark Petition. Actually needs additional black mana here, but can still Frantic Search. Can also -8 Ral.
I will be amazed if you survive this.
And then now Dark Petition can also make additional black mana for what it's worth. But yeah, always make sure to double check your colors that you don't somehow mess up. But we had a few contingencies in place. So yeah, opponent cast a mana drain on turn 2. We still won on turn 3. So it paid off trying to go for the combo as opposed to keeping the Thoughtseize and being content with just taking the Charbelcher, which also would have slowed them down, but might as well just win the game. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We are holding a decent opener. Missing maybe a Ral would be nice. Don't have any disruption. Opponent on Lurrus, so could be an energy deck. Which, yeah, is definitely a beatable archetype for combo. Just need to make sure we don't get strip mined to death. And then for now, I guess I'll still lead with Steam Vents with the plan of casting Thought Scour. So red-white energy confirmed. So now with 3 lands I'm not too worried about a strip mine. Can pass with Brainstorm fetch lanes. And can still Thought Scour afterwards. Turn to Voice, so kind of a life gain angle here. So they will present a fast clock, but they don't seem to have any meaningful disruption so far. And if the Storm deck gets to do its thing, it should be able to win a little bit sooner. So start with a Brainstorm. Found Ral. So less worried about Thought Scour here. Can just Brainstorm again. And then I'm just looking for maybe another ritual. Dark Ritual especially would be nice. Frantic Search is not bad either. Alright, so redraw Past in Flames. And then now play Ral. Manamorphose to kick things off. Go blue-red. So I can Frantic Search, which nets us a little bit of mana. Another Manamorphose is great. So now Manamorphose into Seething Song. And then we could Dark Petition, maybe get a Dark Ritual. Which we can cast, Past in Flames, and then by getting back Dark Petition I can go for Tendrils now. Although we are down to 4, so need to make sure I can transform Ral here at some point. Alright, can do that now. Can just discount my spells, although the -8 would be fun too. But we have it guaranteed here. So maybe another Seething Song first, for good measure. Dark Petition, and get Tendrils. Storm count is high enough. And there we go. It's a pretty clean turn 3 here. But yeah, the energy matchup is definitely one of our better ones. If they're on Mardu with black, they could also have Thoughtseize as other meaningful interaction, and then Orcish Bowmasters can also be quite punishing for effects like Brainstorm. But both versions typically also have Strip Mine, which is another card we typically want to avoid. But yeah, there we go. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a promising hand. Some early ways to sculpt our draw, and then Ral for the discount. Looking for another ritual effect, ideally. Cemetery points towards kind of the black-green, mid-rangey land destruction deck. Vault of Whispers is unexpected. Alright, Dark Ritual, is this Shieldred maybe? Necrodominance also makes sense. Okay, so opponent will most likely have removal for Ral, whether it's something like a Fatal Push or the Black March. But they did tap out here. So go ahead and grab a Steam Vents. And then I think I start with a Thought Scour for now. It's unlikely for me to be able to combo next turn. Could have waited for the Necrodominance trigger, I suppose. Opponent draws a bunch. We'll have to discard to hand size. And then a Surgical for Brainstorm, which we'll get to one in hand. But that would have happened no matter what, since we need to cast a Brainstorm before our opponent has to discard down to hand size. And a second Surgical now on Polluted Delta. That one's painful. That is my second land. Part of the reason why you should diversify your fetch lanes to play around Pithing Needle and Surgical. Is this a third Surgical extraction? Opponent is down to 4. Alright. A Leyline of Sanctity actually would have prevented us from comboing with Tendrils and Mizzix's Mastery. Alright, well, I need lands. Found pretty good package here. So I draw Blood Crypt. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with all of these, in theory. Dark Ritual. 3 cards in hand. Freebooter's fine, so they might be sacrificing it here to draw more cards. Veil of Summer would have actually been a great way to stop Tendrils once again. And a Besiege. Getting another Besiege, so I guess our opponent's trying to Tendrils us to death. Is their storm count high enough? They can chain together a few more copies of Besiege, sacking Vault as well, which is an artifact. But they did sacrifice their enchantments. There's a Tendrils. Is this Xaxis or 1 point short? 1 point short. Well, now I can play Ral to block the freebooter so I don't die. And then next turn, I guess I have to be careful that I don't die to Ral coin flipping me 1 damage. So that's gonna be exciting. I don't have to cast anything, I can just attack for 120 times. So it all boils down to a coin flip. Yeah, if we can immediately transform Ral, then I can just +1 and then we're in the clear. If I lose the coin flip, I die. Is there any way I can gain a life here? Not that I can think of. I think I just have to go for it. Although my opponent's literally holding nothing right now. So I'm not really under any pressure. So maybe I should wait. Ornithopter, okay. That blocks Ral, so now our opponent will eventually draw out of it, so I'm kind of the first one that has to make a move. Because sooner or later our opponent's gonna draw another Tendrils, presumably, unless they only have the 1 copy. Yeah, drawing fetch lanes also wouldn't help right now. So I think I'm going for it. What a weird game. So I can start with Manamorphose. And we won the coin flip. Okay. So go blue, red is fine. Plus Manamorphose again. Manamorphose again. Thoughtseize is not getting cast. Ritual, Seething Song. Only have 2 lands in place, so Frantic Search is not at its best. So I can just Dark Petition and get Past in Flames. And that should pretty much take care of itself. Cast a few more Manamorphose. Well, this was a very exciting game, to say the least. Opponent could still have a Veil of Summer in hand, I suppose, so maybe I should just Tendrils before I waste too many resources. So we get to return the favor, and our opponent explodes. Well, there you have it. We even get to rank up here. Sweet. Pretty unconventional game of Timeless, but yeah, that's the type of game you'll only see in a format as crazy as Timeless. So sometimes you lose on turn 1, sometimes you're at 1 life needing to win a coin flip facing an Ornithopter. So yeah, Timeless is a pretty crazy format. Now, would I recommend this Storm deck as a competitive choice? I don't think so, since at the end of the day, the fastest we can win is on turn 2, and there are some combo decks out there capable of winning on turn 1 with a perfect draw. So, at the end of the day, it's not the fastest combo deck out there. It is maybe a little bit more resilient than your typical one-hit KO combo deck that relies on the perfect opening hand, since at least we have a lot of cantrips. Even if our opponent has a discard spell, we can still get value out of our graveyard. But at the same time, if our opponent has a great answer to a card like Tendrils, then we're still going to be in trouble. And especially Force of Negation, countering and exiling a Past in Flames can also be a very big setback. So the deck certainly has some weaknesses, and therefore I would not necessarily recommend this as my first choice in Timeless. But as far as the fun factor is concerned, this is definitely up there for me, since I do enjoy solving a Storm puzzle every now and then, and the gameplay is just very unique compared to your typical creature aggro decks. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's gameplay. I want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.